Hey, welcome back to the Grace Life Church podcast. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm your host, Brian Clark, back with my special guest, Tim Robertson. We're going to continue on the topic we've been looking at over the last several days on Christians and politics and how Christians need to get involved in the political sphere. Before we do that and jump into doing that today, I would encourage you, like this, share it on social media. Also, if you want to get this regularly, subscribe to our channel. That way, when each one of our podcasts shows up each weekday morning at 10 o'clock, it'll come straight to you, and you'll be able to watch, and it'll be something short and quick, but it'll bring you truth, and we know truth sets us free, and so we want to bless you with a lot of truth. So today what we're going to get into is we're going to talk about important issues that we as Christians need to be speaking out on. So if you were going to pick like the top, just two or three things that we really need to focus on right now, where do you think that is, Tim?
Oh, wow, man, you got a whole sea of things to talk about. What really struck me as most concerning is people are running around telling everybody they're a bunch of racists. You have people are having a hard time to figure out what bathroom to go to. And you see the blatant attack on the Word of God. Everything that's going on in society right now is just basically all comes down to what happened at Adam, and the sinful nature. And our founders understood that. They understood that the heart is deceitfully evil, and who could know it? And they knew that they had this human nature, so that's the reason they put in those checks and balances. But speaking out is why it's so vital that we reserve our right to speak. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you about something too, because something you said, Tim, you said just like early on, just like it like the Holy Spirit just went off on the inside of me when you made the statement about people saying that we're racist or this or that, different people. And what we're seeing so much today is people throwing out these buzzwords with no truth behind it, but it's like they tag you because you don't agree with them about a piece of legislation that needs to pass. You're racist, you're sexist, you hate people, you're this, you're that, with no truth behind it. Well, that maybe is off track, but on track. But where does that come from?
Well, that's just fiery darts of the enemy. What they try to do is they try to name you. Once you name something, it becomes identifiable.
Yeah.
I could go say, look at him or look at him. But if I said, look at Pastor Brian, all of a sudden you have that name and you're identifiable. They want to put people in identifiable groups, identifiable boxes that they can control. No one wants to be called a racist, so they constantly, now they're on the defense. But that doesn't mean we should limit free speech.
Right.
I know most people they want to limit what they call hate speech. And hate speech is nothing more than something you're saying I don't agree with, so to speak. But
because there's places in the world, and I think in Canada now, if I'm not mistaken, and certainly other nations, if you get up and read the Bible and teach the biblical marriage between a man and a woman, that's hate speech.
No.
Two men can't get married, two women can't get married. That's hate speech. Can't do it. Can't teach from the Bible anymore.
Yeah, and what kind of freedom is that? You'll recognize in history that there was never an entity, a government that suppressed speech that was a good guy.
Say that again.
You'll never find in history an entity or a government that went out to suppress speech that was a good guy. They want you to stick to the narrative. So why would an enemy want to silence your words?
Because Satan hates it when truth comes to light.
Well, it also suppresses the truth, but your words, life and death are in the power of the tongues. And you'll have what you'll say. What you're doing is, just as God created the world with what he said, people that are in charge on this power or in this worldview don't want you creating a worldview that's contrary to their world.
Yeah.
And it's all done through speaking. How does the atheist get his points across? Speaks. How did you hear about Jesus? Did someone say something?
Yep.
There's the power of our words. And we know that those words are things that when we examine those words, we see the heart of the matter, because it says out of the mouth, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So we cannot put a restraint on that. Benjamin Franklin said that whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech. And George Washington said, if freedom of speech is taken away, then the dumb and silent, we may be led like sheep to the slaughter.
Wow, that's pretty. Yeah. That's, but you are right that it is in the arena of competing ideas that wisdom comes forth.
Absolutely.
Because we hear different viewpoints, and then usually the reality, like any time, whenever you work or anything else you've ever done, you hear different viewpoints. Usually the truth is nobody has it all right. It's, I say my part, you say your part, somebody else says their part. And then from there, we hear different viewpoints, different ideas on the best way to maybe make a decision about a new business venture or whatever else. But when you silence everybody and one person speaks, it's not good.
Yeah. They cry out for diversity, but not diversity of ideas. They want a singular idea, but in a diverse world, it just doesn't happen.
Sounds like 1984.
It does. Yeah. I wish that was fiction.
You and me both.
Absolutely. But, it's like Peter, James, and John, they were told not to speak that word. Every time there's truth that corresponds with someone's lie or a different viewpoint, it contradicts, and it's like worlds colliding against their worldview, and that's and there's no way. It's just, I don't know, not to suppress it. It's just you're just going to lose freedom to speak as you've heard.
So when we don't speak, because it's one, you're bringing this up in a way I've not really thought about it before, but which I'm glad you are. I always tell, one of the things I tell people, counseling with them when they're going through a hardship, when Satan arises, one of the first things I'll tell them, get into the word. But then after you get into the word, you got to declare the word. Because as you said, life and death are in the power of the tongue. You speak what you want. You begin to declare things, and that's true. If I get sick, I believe for my healing, or I go through a financial challenge and I declare God for the breakthrough. But we got to do it in the political arena.
Absolutely. You know how many phone calls it takes for a congressman to respond to a bill?
I'm curious about that.
You would think hundreds, thousands, 5. They get 5 phone calls about a bill. They know, well, we need to act on this. And we're not calling. We don't know 5 friends that can call and say, we oppose this bill, we're for this bill, we're praying for you, we're supporting you. It doesn't make any sense why we remain so silent. Martin Luther King would say that there comes a time when silence is betrayal. We're called in Proverbs chapter 31 to speak for the weak and uphold the poor. Jesus come to care for the poor and speak out against their behalf. And he did it not just, we realize that Jesus wasn't just a political figure, a religious figure. He was just as much a political figure, because when he comes back, he's going to be King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's a political figure, even though he's a high priest.
One of the reasons the Romans, Caesar, they didn't like Jesus is because he was the king. He was being called the king, and Caesar was king. That's in Caesar's mind. I'm king. I am. Actually, you can set it out further. And the Caesars, they believed they were the sons of God, and so now it's like Jesus is taking their place. And so, one of the things we can learn about that throughout history is tyrannical governments. They tend to think they're God.
Yeah.
and they want to take a power that only God is really supposed to have.
Absolutely. And those people that take those godly roles have never been great leaders. You know, think throughout history, those people like Lenin, Stalin, and Pol Pot, and that's in some of our lifetimes. But you think of all the way to the Caesars and the Herods and the, you know, Jesus called Herod an old fox. You know, he said there are two um, leavens that levy the lump, and that was, he spoke out against the Pharisees and Herod, and that's the political and the religious realm. So,
Well, it's interesting, and I've been doing. I'm gonna close this out with this thought, and I've been doing some study on the Book of Revelation recently, and just different things going on before the destruction of the temple in the year 70 A.D. in Jerusalem. And actually, what you saw there, part of what led to all that happening was the political, which was Rome, and the Jews actually got into bed together and were in league and treaty against the Christians, and they were trying to destroy Christians. It actually ended up what happening, because Jesus had prophesied to the Christians, get out of town when you see the Roman armies come. It actually ended up being that the political system crushed the religious system, crushed Judaism, and that was why the temple was destroyed and everything else, which all goes back to the point of we need to be involved as Christians in government, or we are now bad things happen, man.
you name it one Muslim country that the religion is not involved in the government.
Not to get back to
it is run by the religious ideologies of the Muslims. So
we need to be involved.
Absolutely.
So, well, we'll talk more about this concept and just more things on this topic over the rest of the week. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely, again, like and share on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and help us get the word out. And God bless you. Have a great rest of your day.